Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Oh, why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Oh,
let's do it. So, this is the first ever inaugural Fake Friends podcast. Couldn't be any more excited to talk about who knows, whatever we want. But yeah, what's going on, dude?
Shit, not much. Same old thing.
Yep. Nothing new under the sun. But yeah. So yeah.
Wow, there's a lot. There's a whole lot.
Yeah, no, but the reason why we wanted to do this, obviously, the start of it was we always wanted to do a podcast, talk about so many different things, sports, music, movies, anything, you name it, current events, just have conversations.
Everything cool.
Yeah, anything that just interests us, we want to talk about. Like, what? I'll go just start a podcast and started out with talking about, like the music that we do. A long journey with that of, beginning when we first met to when we first started out to what we wanted to do, to how that transitioned to where we are now, to this album we're putting out in 2 weeks from this recording, and talk about the journey, and then continuing on for, future episodes being about whatever we want to talk about, whatever topic on top of what we're currently doing with music. So I think it'll be a good show for sure.
Yeah, speaking of,
good podcast, one of the best ever. Yeah, one of the best to do it.
Speaking of that, I remember the first time. I don't think it was the first time. No, this might have been the first time we met, because you didn't come to practice like the first week, and K Dolo, Kenny Rollins, had been at practice with me, and he was like, "You got to meet my boy, my roommate. He makes music also." So I think it was in front of 79 where the bus used to pick up. Mm-hmm. And the first thing you asked me was like, so this is the first thing you asked me. You were like, so do you when you're making your beats, you start with like your instruments first or your drums? And I was like, it just depends. Oh yeah, all right, cool.
Like I even knew what I was doing.
Yeah, like that's why it's funny, because I had no fucking idea. I think I was still taking classes with like Brad and two other kids, learning out, music notation and shit.
Yeah. No, I remember
that was funny.
I was sick. Yeah, I was sick for like 2 weeks with like viral bronchitis, and he used to come back because we were roommates to the dorm, just be like, "Yo, man, you got to meet like our shortstop. He does stuff that you do. You guys would be friends." I'm like, "All right, cool." And then that was that. Showed up to practice one day. Was like, "Yo, you want to come over one day?" You're like, "Yeah." We've been hanging out ever since. So yeah, that was funny. And then from there, it was just kind of meeting up after practice, really, and just.
I think because I think actually from there we met up a few times. I remember texting, I think, Kenny, and I was like, "Yo, I'm finna come over," and he responded to me. He was like, "What is finna?" I spelled like F-I-N-N. And he was like, "What is finna?" It's like, what do you mean?
That was probably me too. Yeah, no clue.
I was like, what do you mean?
No clue.
But then I think we made that On My Grind record in the basement of the Commodore.
Oh yeah, yep.
That was like the first record we did. And then I don't really recall. You might
no theory, no knowledge, no
knowledge, just kind
of like, oh, this sounds good.
Yep, all by ear.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, both verses were 24 bars for some reason, because you hate 16 bar verses. So
I didn't know how to count. I didn't know how to count. That's why I didn't know how to count the bars. I thought 8 bars was
the whole song.
It was like pretty much the whole song. Or like I was doubling, like, so it was like really longer than it was. So like a 16 bar verse was really, you said, like 32. Like I didn't understand.
Yeah,
I thought I was counting a bar as 2 bars.
Because I remember writing that record, and I'm just like, "Yo, when's the hook come?" Because it just kept going.
Now it's coming.
Going. But then I don't really recall after that how how we got our compadres involved. The infamous Soundproof group, and I kind of formulated organically from really the On My Grind record. I think you actually had told me like, yo, Deuce makes music. It was like, yo, we should.
That's what it was. It was something like that. I think he mentioned something, and then people just being interested, and then Drew lived across from me, and he was into music. So we just had a bunch of guys into music, and so everyone used to kind of just hang out, and it wasn't really so much like other than that. It was just really just a hangout, making music, like me or you. The guys just being there writing. It was kind of like, oh, we should like make some songs. It was really nothing like, oh, we want to be like this group and like, make a label, like be signed. It was just more like, let's just hang out, make music, watch movies, do dumb kid shit, and have fun.
Yeah.
And
Now was speaking of that, was oh shit, what was the first? Was Memories the first record, or was Dreams?
No, it was probably Memories collectively. That sampled, right? Drew was awesome because he always used to back up real quick. So for me personally at that time, I was still pretty good at like making like tracks with beats on my own, like with virtual instruments and stuff. Yep. But where my head was at with like, oh, dude, fucking sampling, dude, that fucking hip hop shit. Like I wanted to sample, I wanted to master sampling. So, from all like the OG, like, so I was really into like sampling. I'm like, oh, it's easy. I could just take a loop no one's heard and like, do what I do with it. So Drew would give me just songs I never heard before from artists. And that was one. He gave me a ton of good stuff, but the first one was from I think like Postal Service. I forget that was the name of the artist of the song. I think that was used in like a UPS commercial. Yeah. Took the intro and he actually helped make it. I remember him playing like the piano because like, oh, like make a piano like this because I didn't know what I was doing. He did like a bass line.
Just give him a background on Sullivan Hames. The guy never went to class, threw like 87 miles an hour fastballs, hammer curveball.
This guy was a legend.
Stayed in his room. He just stayed in his room.
He was just the coolest dude ever.
Guitar, if he had a guitar and just chilled. Probably got high all the time too. And then
watched a ton of movies.
Watched a whole bunch of movies. Never slept. I don't know how he did that. He also recorded the first win in school history, so he's a legend because he probably would have got drafted if he just stuck with it. But who knows? Yep. He's the man for making memories and dreams for sure.
Yeah, so
having a part in that.
So then obviously the guys, yourself and the boys, Ryan, Deuce, Jay, and even Kenny. This was before Q.
Yep.
Everyone, they were just there, wrote on it, and then we thought the song was cool. So then we're like, oh, dude, we should probably get like some chick to sing on this. Heard, I forget where we met that girl, but I was like, oh, dude,
I think you told me. Because remember, I wasn't living on campus then, and you hit me and was like, yo, we met this girl in the iHouse.
Oh, yeah. I can't. Anyway, so I just went up to this girl and was like, yo, you want to sing this record? She's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, wow, that's cool. So she did that. And then from there, it was kind of like, I don't know, let's make some more stuff. This sounds good. So
yeah, it just kind of turned into like a snowball.
And then that's when like the tracks like Dreams were made that were samples and all those other ones. But what's funny is getting back to the recording of Memories, we went to our school studio not knowing how to do anything, and we just straight finessed recording in Pro Tools in one of the movie departments.
I'm pretty sure Lenny and he was like, yo, you know how to use this? And we were just like, yeah, obviously.
We get in there, we look at each other like, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. Not at all.
We're like, hey, what's funny about that is they didn't have They didn't have a studio. They had an ADR room for voiceovers. And I go up there and I'm like, bro, I'm pretty sure we can just go record this at the school because they got a booth and we can rent the equipment. And we go up there, we rent the equipment. He asked us if we know what we're doing. We tell him, had no fucking idea what we knew what to do. We get in there.
I had to ask him how to record.
I'm pretty sure we had to ask him how to record.
We did. And you look at these dudes like, oh man, they're about to steal everything.
Six of us in there didn't know how to record shit.
Us first went there. Us two.
Oh, that's right. Because I think we did On My Grind first. I think the first thing we recorded was On My Grind, and we did that there. That's a deep rooted backstory right there because that is the foundation of this artwork that's sitting behind us right now. That's the foundation of Fake Friends, really, right there. Is just, you know, that it started out kind of figuring it out on your own, and then you know, you cross paths with a lot of people. Because from that we turned out I think even a great project called Simplicity. Then you can still slap it today. You had a bunch of, how old were you? 19, 20?
Yeah, 19.
We did that at 19, so I was 17, 18. Jay, Deuce, and Q when them was around the same age. But we're on there rapping bars, have no idea what we're talking about probably. I mean, conscious rap that's just like just hard, lyrical. It's amazing to think that we did that at like that time.
Right. Yeah. Like you could listen to the record Dreams and be like, God damn, this is inspiring. Like I'm about to change my life.
It makes no sense.
It's written by a bunch of kids.
Kids just literally just writing shit. And then we did that. And then it kind of took off. I think we actually inspired that whole department too, because they put a studio in the building a year later because of us. You know,
because of us. Because we just showed up and we're like, yo, we're just trying to record. And then we met the legend Sanjay. And when we met that guy, we met him at the perfect time when we were just like, hey, all right, we got this rap group. We should put a mixtape out, because that was still cool to do then. So we grabbed a whole bunch of industry beats and just started going to the studio at the school, never slept, recorded a whole bunch of bars, learned how to mix that shit on our own, thanks to Sanjay, who pretty much, he was YouTube University before YouTube University was a thing. Yeah, in all honesty, Sanjay, everything he told us about mixing to this day was so on point. And, you know, I studied a lot of stuff, and it's like everything he said with gain staging and how you want to hit plugins with like your signal and everything with compression EQ, like he told us the right way from the jump. So
all of that shit applies. One thing I vividly remember, and I still do it, and I'm just like, it has to be this way, is you cut, compress, boost. And that's just because I remember him telling us that in the studio. He was like, yo, you can't compress the shit if you don't do this first. And I'm just like, wow, that makes so much sense.
Right. Yeah, it does. Clean the signal. Yeah, clean the signal.
I don't even know what that means.
But what's crazy is I will more often than not, I will compress before I EQ.
Yeah, so you learn more. You learn more, like you learn the tools more. I just remember him giving us tips that like still stick to this day.
Because they were phenomenal tips. Right.
That was so crucial in that whole mixtape process, which was hard because you had, I think we sat down soundproof. This was this before or after we did an actual live show? This was before. This is before. So this is before we did a live show, but we sat down and we're like, all right, we made the Simplicity in. We need to make like a mixtape, I guess, for just rapping, like where we could just rap bars, you know? And we did that. And there were some hard bars on these. I mean, I can't find them because my hard drive doesn't work, but like What's Your Name is on there. Yeah. Deuces is on there. Hot Toddy is on there. I mean, some infamous tracks from those times where we just rapped on, we mixed them ourselves. 9
a.m. in Dallas, whatever it was called.
5 a.m. in Dallas.
5 a.m. in Dallas.
Fancy, which is crazy because the dudes, like, they all did hard verse. So, like, I think that's special that we did that because it just taught us so much.
And it sounds good, too.
In terms of making music, and it sounds good. There was no auto-tune because we didn't even know how to use it, didn't know how to get it, didn't know where to get it from, had no idea. And we're just in the studio. And I remember if you go into 79, busted right down the hall, it was almost like we had our own, like we were students, but it was like going to a professional studio for us because you had to travel there. You walk in, you go in, you got this big old soundboard that's just a MIDI controller, but you think it's like legit because it looks huge and you got speakers.
But we never used it.
We never used it. There's a booth in front of you and you just have the vibes of being in the studio. We're like 2021, 2019, and we're just like, yeah, this is it. And we're just playing baseball in school, making music in the studio late night, eating Bellissimo's pizza afterwards and never sleeping. And it was the life.
Yeah, it was literally never sleeping because there would be times where it'd be like 11 at night, 11:30, and we just literally walk 20 minutes to the school building to go to the studio for just an hour, hour and a half. Because we closed at like 1:30.
Like 2. I think it was open to 2.
1:32. So we would go there to like 2 a.m. And then we go to sleep at like 3:30, and then you're waking up at like 8, and then you're like class baseball, and then you just
practice.
You never slept.
Game. Never slept.
I was actually telling one of my friends not too long ago about like just what I used to do. And I was like, dude, I did like 6-hour classes, 3-hour, 4-hour baseball practice, 5-hour practice training on top of partying and making music and having time to like have fun. And they're like,
yeah, it makes no sense.
when'd you sleep? And I go, I didn't sleep. I thought that's like 2 or 3 hours a night for like when I was 19 to 22.
Never dawned on me because when you think about it, we really did sit in class. Like we weren't allowed to actually. So it wasn't like we could not go to class. And we had to sit in those 3-hour classes. And like you said, sometimes you had 2 classes in a day. That's 6 hours of class where it either is at 8:30 and then you're getting out of class, going to practice. And then you got 3:30 class to 6:30 and then you got to eat. And so from 8:30, so the first 12 hours of your day were consumed and exerted a whole bunch of energy. And we still just somehow was like, all right, 10 o'clock rolls around. I'm walking down to the studio.
Yeah. I'm walking like 20 minutes.
20 minutes to the studio. And then after I do that, like you said, after I walk 20 minutes, 12:30 rolls around. Yo, we're going to this party up on California Street. Yep. All right, let's go do that. And I think that's just wild because like I look at it now and I'm like, I would die after the first night of doing that.
I'd be in bed by 9. Yeah. It's not happening. Not anymore.
It's not happening. It's not a shot.
People on Instagram crazy. Like, oh, I'm in the studio 4 a.m. not sleeping. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. I'm going to bed at 9. I'm waking up at 7. I'm having a fresh mind and I'm getting after it the next day.
I'll be good. Because like this whole not sleeping shit is for the birds. That's just
it makes no sense. Joke's on you, buddy.
That shit makes no sense, man. There's no longevity in that.
So real quick, getting back to the 2 other names you mentioned with like Lenny and Sanjay. What's cool about those dudes is they saw our passion and they knew we were raw. Like we had talent, but we're not where we were now. And there were kids more talented than us as far as musically, but we had a vision and we had a drive and we worked harder than anyone because we were always there. And they knew they were like, dude, these kids, they knew we were going to do something, you know, like Lenny, he helped us out so much, but
he mastered memories.
And there was an infamous conversation, you know, we had with him in one of our buildings where I'm pretty sure you were right there. And he was showing us probably like Ableton Live 5 or 6 at the time. And he was like, yo, man, I want to show you this, dude. You're going to use this one day. I was like, yeah, okay, buddy. FL Gang's
he was playing with fucking Tetris and like
he was showing me like how you can build for loops and like do like the what do you call that mode that you were always doing when you build the not the sets, but like the I don't use it.
Groups,
but no, it's like the on the mixing window. You do it through the mixing window.
In live?
Yeah. I like sets. Well, anyways, he was showing me that with like, you know, how you could like do everything with like macros and stuff like that, with like how you can group everything. And I was just looking like so dumbfounded, like, wow. And he goes, one day, I was just like you, man. I used to make hip hop beats in FL. And then I started making EDM. He goes, one day you're going to use Ableton Live and you're going to make EDM music. And I said, no, I'm not. And now
not a shot. And now it's like a fusion of like everything.
Yeah.
Everything all in one.
Everything. It's like,
it's live. It's crazy.
Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. And then getting to Sanjay, as far as like the mixing, he was always, you know, like, you guys know what you're doing. Just trust yourself. You have good ears. Just trust it and do it. And he always really tried to help us more. So he'd be like, okay, you have the creative side down, but then get like the business side down. Like, yeah, if you're putting the hours in for the creative, you got to take time for the business. Like, is your social media right? Like, are you being proactive? But like, what are you trying to, it depends what you're trying to accomplish. But like, if you're trying to be this like production group that makes money off that, well, you need to reach out to people and all this stuff. But he was cool.
Because you know what's cool about them
too.
What's cool about them? You're right. We went to Expressions, took us to that studio. What's cool about them is they were technically maybe 5 years older than us, max.
They weren't too much older, yeah.
You know,
Lenny might have been late 20s.
Yeah, at that time, I mean, they were doing the same thing. You know, I know Sanjay now. I actually, did I tell you how I came across him? I think it was like 2 years ago. He was walking outside, and I met up with him. And we chopped it up. He's like the head IT guy for that school now. He like any technical problem that goes on at that school, Sanjay is the one that like just oversees it, just presses a button and fixes it wrong. But like they were doing the same thing, and that's why I said he was YouTube University before it existed, because we're in the studio and he was showing us how to. I forget what it's called, man.
Yeah, he used to just like almost hang out with us and give us like free lessons.
Like just be in the studio with us. Here's one thing I always remember about him. I was recording maybe Hot Toddy, and as I'm recording, he said something about like his flow is always on the clap, and like it just stuck to me because it just seemed like on some records it's so generic, and on some records it sounds like it's supposed to be there. And right. I remember where we were at Expressions or something, and he was showing us how to channel mix something. Remember, I forget the setup, but it had like red chords, yellow chords, green chords.
He was probably using like analog mixing or something.
It was, yeah, I think so. It was like dual ends. He was just plugging shit in different spots, different spots. And I'm just looking at him like, I don't know what the fuck's going on right now. But what he did was just like amazing because he didn't have to do the shit. We didn't pay him. And now you think about like all the people we've come across, the shit that he did, they would say, hey, you guys owe us like $5,000.
Right. Yeah.
When you talk about like time that he spent, you know what I mean? And I just think that's
like he was just hanging in our session. Like if there was no one else at the school and we're the last ones left, sometimes you're hanging there for like 10 minutes. Like, oh, that sounds cool. Oh, maybe you should like do this to this, you know? And then,
oh, you guys want it to sound like this? Watch this. Click, 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 click. See this, how you do this.
And he was big on workflow and work pace too. So like understanding your shortcuts and then having session organization.
Sense the organization and setting it up, just understanding the key cuts.
Yeah.
That was big. Everything that we do right now, I definitely would say we have to credit to fucking Lenny and Sanjay because that's 100%. The foundation of it. Yeah. That's the foundation.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. And so kind of getting back to the timeline though, Soundproof Your Room never comes out. We recorded, we did that. We did a show in Berkeley, which was really cool. We kind of had got that whole group thing ball rolling, and then, you know, groups happen, groups don't happen, and they kind of go their own ways. And I think at that transition point in fall of 2012 or summer of 2011, 12 was it summer or spring of 2011? 12. I don't remember the time frame where we kind of just kept making music after Soundproof didn't as a group. Mm-hmm. And I think that was, I'm trying to remember when that was. I think that was spring 2012. We finished Soundproof Your Room in like 2011.
Yeah.
Right? Through 2011 or whatever. And so summer of 2012 at this time, are you living at Terraval at that time?
2012, yeah. Yep. Summer 20, right? Yeah, I was living there. I lived there for a few months and then...
Because spring 2012 was in PAL, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So if that's what I'm trying to get that timeline right. So if that's the case, Terraval rolls around and I think, you know, one funny thing that always reminds me of this time of 2012 was Future was just kind of hitting the scene. And Turn On the Lights was out.
Yep. Oh, well, yeah. Remember?
Yeah. No. Yep. That's what because we were at Terraval, and I was like, I remember the first time I heard that record in my dorm room. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is terrible. You can't it's not even sing it. And I remember you're just like, yo, I think this shit's hot.
I go, this shit's hot. I go, dude, listen to this part right here. He goes, I want to turn the world about you just so we can get jealous. And I was like, that shit's fucking sick. I remember that. I put everyone on that song.
I remember that vividly. And it's crazy because of how much that's just like the inspiration and like the, you know, pop, hip hop right now. But yeah, 2012 was cool because I was driving all the way to Terraval, doing all kinds of things. You were living with Kenny, you know, going to the mall and blowing money. Yeah. And the boys, shout out to Mike Reyes.
Boys were lit. I was in a sling, raging, partying in a sling.
I remember that. We were partying at Terraval. And so then, when 2012, we move in.
Well, the reason this is all relevant is because there we kind of started making more, almost in a way, demo type records. We're kind of thinking more mind for other people.
What I was trying.
We're making some really cool pop records.
Peer production.
Because I think that's when we kind of did some records with the David Pablo kid, made some cool records. But then eventually we moved in together over in Emeryville. And that's when like even more we're kind of like, well, even at Powell too, we kind of messed around in Powell and had some fun briefly with some like stupid like joke tracks. But it was really like, I feel like the Courtyards, the infamous Courtyards, where we started really kind of like
Rio to
on
Man.
our own. When we were bored, not making beats, we'd be like, oh, it's right to like, we in this bitch,
We were writing shit,
That's when we started really writing shit, just kind of like,
writing records.
we didn't want to make our own stuff, but we would just write shit.
We stopped just making beats.
Started.
That's when we stopped just making beats and started just trying to make records. 2012 was when it kind of started, and then that would actually time up right because I was still playing.
We started writing more.
You
hooks.
had graduated. We started writing more hooks for shit. We started because you did "I'm Ready," which got stolen, of course.
Got stolen by Chris Brown and Fabulous by the Runners. They stole it.
Sarah J definitely stole that record. I'll never forget.
Stole that record. Had the Runners remake it.
I still got the receipts where I hit her up. I hit her up and said, "Hey, did you play?" I think I said something like, "Did you play this for them or whatever?" She was like, "Nah, I mean, records sound the same all the time." And I was like, "All right,
no. This sounds the same."
I was like, "Check this out." I send her the record, and she's like, "Oh wow, this does sound like that record." I'm like, "Yeah," and you're the only person we sent it to, and you got credited working with the Runners and them. I'm like, "That's our record." So I know that record got stolen. We'll never be able to prove it, but I'm okay with like living with the fact that I know it got stolen. Because the hook sounds
we inspired a hit record. That's cool.
That happened. I know that happened. She indirectly admitted it. But that was it. That was the start of it because 2012 rolls around, or 2012 fall, 2012 falls, we were making those cool records. Like you said, we in this bitch writing the click, freestyling, just, we had the coolest setup, living in a 1-bedroom, split in the living room, put a studio in the
one bedroom, moved the mattresses out to the living room, put a booth in the closet.
Set up a studio.
It was just gutter. But it was what we were. If you knew us at 21, 22, 23, we were like,
that was it, man.
We were like poor kids. We were fucking poor. That's just what it was.
That was the track. Courtyards of 65th.
Yeah. So we just did. We were inspired by by ignorant shit. So we did ignorant shit. Monkey see, monkey do. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it was great because I go back, I listen to those Dropbox records, and I'm like, this is just a great time. What a time to be alive.
It's great.
It's a great, But yeah, so that happens in fall where we're still kind of transitioning because 2012. I think winter of 2012 or at the top of 13, I go out, I think, to Boston. And I think that's when, let me know if I might be ahead a year, but let me know if I'm ahead a year here, where we made a student night and and what finally came to be Nobody Else. Because we recorded those demos.
That sounds about right. That year.
I think that was in
hold on. You know what? It might have been 2014 because I think I already moved home. Because I met Brian. And
okay, so I'm ahead.
I met when I was still in California, but when I moved home, I was hanging out with him more. So I'm
ahead of you.
Yeah.
Because all of 13, I'm playing college ball.
Right.
I sign in the summer. I come back
because it was kind of like a break. So like basically,
that's what I thought.
Like a mixture of like 2013 and 2014. We didn't really make music at all. I moved home was kind of
Yes, we did. You had Tay Jay Wilder. You had Shape. You had The One.
True.
You had Getting To It.
True.
You had
very true.
Low. You had some kind of.
But after that,
kind of a startup.
As far as like us doing stuff,
something.
Right, that was dope.
Yeah,
but as far as
that was
you doing stuff, we kind of stopped because you went and played with the Dodgers, so you were busy, so you really couldn't do it.
13 and 14.
I was just kind of I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna make some beats. And then I met Brian, and we'd go to his house, and I taught him how to produce because he could write. So we just kind of hang out and make some stuff. And I just send it to you. So let me
backtrack there because some of those I gotta shout out the guys to Jay Wild and D. Taylor Rod because we were I'm thugging it as a poor minor league ball player living in Treasure Island, and I'm making club beats and we're just rapping over them. Still at the school, by the way. Still going to the school, recording Shape. That's when Tay learned that he could rap. We make that record. I sent it to you. You're like, this is crazy. And we used The One, which we did in the Vallejo studio. That's when we started recording with some auto-tune. Chris Mix was a part of that. Chris Mix is a legend who I don't even think engineers anymore, but he's a legend in Oakland. Everybody that raps knows who Chris Mix is. Ask Simba about Chris Mix because that's where it starts.
Yep. Yep.
But so
East Oakland, baby.
that's 13. That's
International Drive,
right.
baby.
International. That's Oh shit! If only we knew. But so that's 13 now that I think about it, because I was playing ball. You're right, and so it was kind of like I kind of held a lot of people up. I think about that sometimes because I held up Tay and Jay because I had to go to like spring training, but we literally just had Shake on the radio. Like Tay had a hookup. Tay had a hookup with this DJ.
DJ spun that record. We
sent him the record. Yep. And it's playing. Then at the same night, I remember we went to this club in Berkeley. They played it at this club. They were playing the one in the strip club. And like, there was a little bit of traction on Tay, Jay Wilder, and Skip rapping because we had this like organic early day.
Club records.
You know what's crazy is that at that time is when P-Lo, I Am Sue, everybody that's from the Bay, that's popping right now.
Yeah.
It was like at that time. And I always think like if I wasn't playing ball in terms of a time commitment, we'd probably be in that same realm of making music.
Yeah, we would have for sure.
That shit had traction at that time. Like,
and those dudes, I remember them becoming popular. I remember me and you being at Guitar Center in like 2010, 11, I think it was. And this guy who worked there, I think his name was like Anek, no bullshit.
Anek. It was Anek. That was his name.
Hey, bro, you know who's next? You know who's next, bro?
I Am Sue. I
remember
I Am Sue.
Who the fuck's I Am Sue? And I listened to I Am Sue. I think he did that Up record, right? Was that the one he was talking about?
He did that, with
Love Rants or something. Yeah. And I just remember being like, yo, this dude's right. I Am Sue, you know? And then it's just crazy seeing those guys who were quote unquote nobodies at the time and where they are now, like the P-Los, I Am Sue,
because
like
that's
HBK.
What, 9 years ago now? Almost 9 years ago?
Yeah, and we were like there when they were coming up.
There when it was coming up. Because I remember it was this club where everything used to pop off at. 330 Rich. Where they promoted a whole bunch of, I think Kehlani's manager right now promoted a whole bunch of parties there. 330 Rich. It was kind of like, that was a scene. And I just know that we were like on the cusp of that scene. It's not right there because we had those records and we were like, we were shooting videos and it's cool. Like them, like I said, they're my guys, D-Tay Luan, Jay Wild and
the original French Montana, Jay Wild.
Yeah, right. Like it was so organic when we really was making that music. And so, I'm playing ball at 14, and really through 15. And this is where I think the turning point, because 2015 in March I get released, and it's crazy. I get released. Also know I got a kid on the way. I get released, and I leave Arizona and I fly to Boston when I get released
for no reason.
For no reason. I'm just like, yo, I just got released. I'm coming to Boston.
Great decision.
Yeah. And I think at that time too, you know what album was out? Wale, album about nothing. White Shoes was a vibe. At that time, it was just like, it was the top of spring or like mid-spring. It was like a great time to kind of reset shit.
Post to Be was
popping. So that was 2015.
That was a great time.
That was like March, April, May 2015. I didn't know if I was going to keep playing. I was still trying to go play ball, you know. And then, so the music, we were still just making shit here and there, like on our computers, you know. Like I said, I think we had nobody else done by then, because we did that in like the fall of 14. We did nobody else in like the fall of 14, or wintertime of 14 out there in Haystay Studio. We did studio
and
night,
also another record that was dope. No. What was that other one? I ain't fucking with you because like things you do. Fall back, dude. That shit's
ironically,
hard. We should remake that.
I know. Ironically, Big Sean put out "I Don't Fuck With You," I think simultaneously. So it was kind of like we would jock them, but you know.
Oh yeah, whatever.
But yeah, that was the time in 15, and then the turning point happened because I go to New York and play indie ball, and I just got my laptop. And one thing I do remember about that time is I made that Authentic record that eventually ended up being with Shoe Mac. I made that on my laptop, literally just like on the keys. But that time was cool because that's when Tinder was popping. And I got to tell the story because this is the basis of this story. On Tinder, I'm swiping on Tinder. And I see
Can I
this
say something
girl.
real quick? Hold on. Can I say something?
Yeah,
real
go
quick?
ahead.
Hold on. Can I say something real quick? Hold on. Can I say something real quick? Can I say something real
Go
quick
ahead.
before you get
Go
there?
ahead. Go ahead.
Because you mentioned Tinder. The first time we ever heard of Tinder, bring it full circle. Where were we? Do you remember? Chris Mix's studio.
Chris
Do you remember
Mix's studio. Yep. I'm telling you, Chris Mix is a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. Just meet chicks, man, and hook up with them. And we looked at each other like, what the fuck? What kind of world we living in?
Chris Mix
it just works just like that. Yeah.
But like, all right. So the only reason Tinder is relevant is because it literally is like it's the turning point of kind of where we are now. I swiped right on this girl. I'll just say Triple X because I don't really know her official name. But she just has 3 X's in her name. She makes cool music. I think her name was Kelly Rowe. And I swiped right, and for whatever reason, she was on Tinder. But so we connect. She apparently swiped right on me. I think I found her Instagram because it was in her bio on Tinder. And I see this studio. And it's 2015. Now, what was popping in 2015? Fetty Wap. 2015 was Fetty Wap's like, he owned everybody. Yeah. He owned everything. And for whatever reason, this girl records at the same studio that Fetty Wap records at. And I'm just like, yo, there's a studio in Jersey. I'm in New York. You in Boston. We got to go to this studio.
Yeah, remember, it wasn't too far from actually where you live, though. It wasn't. Because it wasn't.
That was the time where I was like, bro, all right, we want to produce and songwrite. We just got to start booking sessions in studios and meet people, run into people. Yep, let's just go to these studios and play our records, run into people so they can be like, who are we? We can be like, we're nobody. We got these records. So we were like, all right, Fetty Wap, I'm going to hit this studio up and see if we can just book a session. And we next thing you know, we book a session, and I'm pretty sure very first session we booked there, Fetty Wap's in the studio. That's when we meet the infamous Brian Peoples Garcia. Peeps comes down, lets us in the studio. He's finishing up a record, and I want to say it was for Fetty Wap's album. I don't remember what record it was, but Time, I know maybe Time. Yeah, it might have been Time because I think Shy was there.
Yeah,
I think Shy was there, and introduces us. We say what's up. That was cool. Hottest artist that we at the time we meet him. One thing that I always remember, he was super cool. Chill. It's always crazy because you meet these people and they're like 5'10", 5'9", and like, holy shit. throws you for a left. But then he's like, yo, y'all can get a picture if you want. We're like, all right, cool. Yeah, no, we're good.
We're good.
We're just here.
We're here to make music, man.
We're just here to
flick. I don't know. I was
just here to make some music.
Man, I probably should have took a picture with Fetty Wap, but I also at the same time,
at that time,
right. I don't know. I wasn't really there to. I didn't expect to run into Fetty Wap and like, I'm not like that. I'm not like a fanboy. Like I am and I'm not. Like at that time, I felt like we belonged there because of what we were doing, not so much to be like, hey, we're here.
We came here to make music. We came here to play music, right?
Yeah, not to be. So it wasn't like a disrespecting. It was just more. But so also,
that's it. Yeah. That was important. The reason we was going to these studios is because we didn't have what we have now, which was the capacity and the ability to record ourselves. So we needed those studios. We felt like we go to this studio.
For what we were doing at the time.
Making these demo
run
records.
Into people and then make demo records.
Exactly, right? So we do that. We go to that studio. We build a relationship with Peeps. We build a relationship with Shy. I think either maybe that second session or no, that first session, Shy hears some records. Shy hears. He heard Beautiful Pain.
I know for a fact he liked what's now KYB because we had a different hook.
He was like,
and I didn't know who he was at the time, but he was like singing to it. And he was like, oh, you should do something like this. And I was just like, nah, it's all right. Like not in a disrespectful way, but like, you know, I didn't know he owned the studio. I mean, I just like, I wouldn't have like, not saying I would have used his idea, but I would have been more like, oh, like, hey, what's up? But it was just like funny because I remember just being like, this guy just
that's ironic.
Generously like just kind of sitting in our session and like being cool and like trying to be creative with us. And not saying we weren't allowing him, but it was just kind of like he did come up with a cool idea. But you know, you're like set like thinking how you want to do something.
No, I wanted to be like this.
Yeah. It was
ironically
he ends up writing.
He ends up writing this, doing a hook for us on that same project. That's the ironic thing about that. But that's the foundation of So Amazing 2015. Songwriting, demo records.
Because we'd go there almost once a month.
We would not almost. We went there once a month. Literally, all of 15 and 16. You literally went there once
fly out
a month.
To California.
I'd fly out from California.
We'd either meet in New York or you'd come here and
come to Boston
drive in one
drive
day.
Down.
sleeping in parking lots, cars, airports.
We were fucking riding around in Times Square in Mercedes-Benzes for no reason.
Insane.
And Mustangs for no reason, just because.
Insane.
But that's important because that led to Walter Jones. Meeting with Walter Jones. And
we're still making demo records.
We're making demo records, right? And we had, what record did we have at the time? Used to Know. We had Used to Know. We had Hold On.
What's the name of that one?
We had Hold On.
Beautiful Pain, but Beautiful there was another
Pain.
One too.
We had, I think we had Move.
Move.
We had Move, right?
Dude,
so
Move.
We're meeting with Walter. Now I got that because this dawned on me like a year ago. We meet with Walter. First time we meet him, we're playing these records. And we're sitting in his office and he's like, yeah, I love when Shy sends me talented people. This is hot, right?
We play some hot shit.
We play some hot shit. And he was it's crazy to me because it didn't dawn on me. Like, I feel like we kind of missed this opportunity, but I don't know if it was an opportunity. He was like, I could go up there and get you an offer right now for like $60,000. Like, you guys don't want that because by the time you like split it and paid it, you don't have any money in your pocket. And I'm just like, that was like a publishing deal offer right there where we could have been like, all right, yeah, now we want to do that. And took advantage of like no money, but at least had some connections. Because I remember he was like, I'm going to try to get you in the studio with, I forget the dude's name. He was an A&R at Atlantic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I'm going to try to get you in a session. And we were trying to hit him up to get into that session. And that never really kind of happened. And that's when it like, it did dawn on me then, but like looking back at it now, I'm just like the way that the industry was really moving, we were kind of still naive to, because we were coming from a world where you show face, you show up, and that gets you places. Like, remember we pulled back up to Sony Studio, Sony Records in New York with no appointment. It was just like, yeah, we're just here to see Walt.
Yep.
You show up, we're like, yo, we just here. What's up? And his receptionist like, oh yeah, he's not here. You can't just show up.
We're like, well, we did. So, but we met with him twice though. Cause then a year later we met with him again. Yep. So a year later, we actually ended up meeting him with again and playing even more hot shit. And I do think he did, like you said at the time, looking back at it, I do think he liked what we were doing, but it was like, what is he going to do? We're nobody.
Well, here's the thing though. Keep this in mind. He was in a position. This is crazy because it comes full circle. He was in a position where he was working with her at that time,
right?
Who wasn't what she is today, right? Now, if we go in that office and we play some records that she could have used, we're probably in a different situation.
Yeah, we just didn't give him anything he could have used. Exactly. Like, what am I going to do with these guys?
And that's why I'm saying we understand, like, at the time, naive, but now it makes all the sense in the world. Why would he invest X amount of dollars to make sure we're straight financially if he can't even use anything right away? Because he's got a job to do, and, from talking with him, he was on his way out trying to move to California and he ends up leaving Sony and going to Universal. So he's like, he's got his own agenda. But I just think it's crazy because we crossed that path. And my mom's always would be like, yo, what's for you is for you. At the time, if it's not there, it's not there at the time because it's not for you at that time. And I just think like maybe that just wasn't,
But on all honesty, before I make this comment, I do got to say the first time we met him, or it was the second time, one of those times, he, I want to say it was the first time, but he goes, hey, you ever heard of the Chainsmokers? And I go, no, who the hell are the Chainsmokers? And he plays Closer to us for the first time, where it was just bubbling. It might have just had around the views on YouTube.
Never heard it before.
Or just never heard him. And I'm sitting here listening to this like, oh, this shit sounds good. It's different. I'm kind of like, whatever, like cool Chainsmokers, bro. But you're sitting in the head A&R of like their
Sony Music. Yep.
Sony Music with the Chainsmokers is like brand. And he's like, do you know the Chainsmokers? I'm like, no. Like,
no. Who the fuck are they?
He was probably like, fucking A. It's like,
fuck are they?
Yeah. And I kind of looking back on it though, it like where we are now, it's and what we feel about the industry and just life in general, it made so much sense for not doing anything with them. Just makes so much sense. It really
makes all the sense.
The best situation was not ever being affiliated with them, not for any other reason other than it's not what we are. That's it.
But yeah, and then kind of moving on the timeline, that's important because that led to us releasing our own music and that first project, Published Purposes Only.
Right. Because
we were like, this records are to get
right.
us a publishing deal. We sent them to a ton of people. We sent these records to a ton of people. And we're just like, well, fuck it. Let's just put these records out ourselves.
So, right. It wasn't just Walt, like meeting with Walt. It was, we're sending to other records. We're going to writing events to places we won't name.
That's right. You're right.
I standard. Right. Ponzi scheme. But we were going there. We meeting some cool people. And then we ended up in a studio in Atlantic. I forget how we got there, though. I think it was through like someone inquiring about like internship. But we were in the studio in Atlantic, one of their main studios, talking with people.
Trying
to play some shit. And we're just sitting here like, we believed in our stuff. Like, man, no, this is good stuff. Like, it's good. And we just didn't know what to do anymore. And we're like, fuck it. In 2016, we're like, fuck it. We're going to go to Soul Music Studios. We're going to tell people, it's like, hey, man, we're just going to record this for us this time. And he was kind of like, I'm pretty sure he was just like, that's what's up. Like, he was like,
nah, he was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, he was like,
cool.
I've been waiting.
And you know why? That's right. Because what he was doing, I got to shout him out again because he would send our records off.
Yeah, and he would do. Yeah, that was awesome.
Like, Ty Dolla Sign, Jeremiah, like they might use this. They might, he was in the same boat. I always thought about that because he was like,
he was a very cool dude. Very cool.
He just had a foot up in the game because he had his placements with Fetty Wap, and so he was trying to get more placements, which he did with some pop artists, right, like Fifth Harmony and them, and but he knew we had some cool shit, and that was kind of like my validation, where I'm like, all right, this dude just made Fetty Wap a star when it comes to like production, 679. Track, all these records. And I'm like, and he's taking our shit and basically affiliating himself with it. That means that like, if he thinks it's quality enough, then it's good enough to be sent off to people. And so at that point, I'm like, if it's not, placing, let's just put the shit out. And we take the route of being artists at that point because we do.
At that point, 2016, right?
And
it started with the record.
You go into the studio, and I think first of all, I was there.
Yeah.
Shy was there.
We'll explain this part. Yeah.
You go in the studio. You go into the booth because I think you were like, yo, I think I can do it. And I'm like, yeah, because I can't fucking sing. And you're like, I can't sing either. But like, yeah, all right, I'm going there. So you go into the studio, and I don't know if like Pete hits a magic button that says fucking diamonds.
He had a good vocal chain. It was
when that first bar comes on the hook, I'm like, that sounds like diamonds. That's amazing. And Shy's like, is that Jared? What?
Yeah. Why didn't he just sing?
Yeah. Why didn't he just sing? Nah. So that was the start of it because we were like, oh, all right, we can literally do this ourselves. Like rapping was nothing new to me. Writing raps was nothing new to me. Writing 16 first bars was because we fucking let Jada Pod make a track and it's 24 bars. But nah, it was the foundation of it.
Getting to that point though was cool because at that time, like you said, like the music that was out, I was very inspired by it. And I didn't want to really jock the style, but I was like, how can I mimic this in a way to make it our own? And we were making up-tempo, like just different shit. So I sampled, I played like an interpolation of the Used to Know record by Goat, and I sang like the time will show how you got so low. And I remember making that beat kind of like being like, yo, I've never made anything like this. And it's just so
that's
like
layered with like,
yeah, I found a great tempo.
That's when we
sound. And he just knew we had a sound. And I was like, yo, we're going to run with this. And we go and record it. And then what's great is during this whole process, we have these awesome beats on my laptop. I go out to visit Steph for my birthday. And we go out, me, him, and D.T. Laurent. And someone didn't close the car door. And a homeless dude went into his car. And my laptop gets stolen with all of our shit. And I go, well, that's not good. So long story short, I end up buying a new laptop and that starts the whole new process. I'm like, hey, here's a fresh start.
That's a pivotal moment.
There's a big pivot. I get a Mac, move from PC to Mac. I get Ableton. I didn't start at first making an Ableton, but one of the first beats I made in Ableton was, wow, I can't think of the name of the track right now. This is pathetic. M80.
Didn't we use it? Yeah, didn't we use it? M80,
Leave. So I'm making this beat, and I remember I hit you up, and I'm like, bro, I've been making all this pop shit. I don't want to play chords in any of this beat. I'm gonna make something, and I'm not gonna fucking whatever. Long story short, I go back to my ways. I make this track called Leave. Fucking fire. And I remember like I sent it to you, and you're like, okay, yeah, like range it like this.
No, blah, blah, you sent it to me. I wrote like the first 8 bars like immediately. And recorded it and sent it back. It was like, this record This record's gonna be hot.
So we go to So Amazing Studios, and this is when we were thinking, oh, we're gonna make an album for ourselves. And I can't remember if I think we were like, hey, because Peoples had to connect with M80. We're like, hey, do you think he would
No. We're skipping a big part. We're skipping a big part here. Because originally we do the hook. I do the hook. And we were also taking side tours to Philly. Remember that? We met these kids. These kids in Philly who was trying to be like he was an intern for Atlantic, and he heard Long Time. I sent him the beat, Long Time, that I made. He loved Long Time. And we go down there. I remember riding to Philly. I remember riding to Philly, listening to the original version of Leave. We're like, yo, this is it. This is it.
I don't even know
how that goes now. I don't even know how that hook goes. Yeah. But I'm just like, this is it. And we're like, this is it. And then for whatever reason, we were just like, yo, you think we can get M80 on the hook? I mean, the verse? We were trying to get him to do a verse. And Keith was like, yeah, I set it up. And shit, he comes through. Called him. He comes through. And for whatever reason, he goes in there and just does something different. And it's like, that's it.
No. It was
That's what it is.
He's like, we do the hook. So he heard the song, sings the hook on this beautiful ballad. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know you could sing like this. Like, beautiful voice. And then he was just like, yo, I'm gonna write. He just writes a verse to it.
Just does a verse.
He did quote us for just the hook, and he just gave us a free verse. It was mad cool.
Yeah, that was not only a free verse, free video. Free verse,
and free video too. He was mad cool.
We did a trade. We gave him Fruits. We gave him Fruits,
right, that's right.
Which is a hot record. Like that's a hot record that he put out. He was actually
that was on his album.
He performed it. He performed it on tour with Fetty Wap times.
He was on
Crowd
tour.
goes crazy for it. I remember that beat.
That was awesome.
I think
he used to send us the videos and shit. That was awesome.
Where is it? That's on my.
I used to be at work. I'd be at work and he'd be sending us videos like, "Yo, look at the crowd going crazy." I'm like sitting here like,
Fruits.
This dude's opening up for Fetty Wap to like music we made. It was cool.
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild times. Because that was all the 16. Because 16 was cool because
16, 17 was like a big like
we were making our own shit, and we were artists. Like we were artists in the sense of features. I mean, think about the time and money.
Features were insane too.
Because we had who do we have on that? M80, Audrey Rose,
Simba, YMTK.
This is Simba too. This is like, Simba a while. And this is like, this is Simba when I remember when we shot the video for that, he was in a transitional stage too. He said, he's like, I just got off
from like Columbia to a new
Columbia record deal to something else. Yeah. So that was pretty cool to kind of catch him at that time. We get him on that record. We get YMTK, Shoot Mac. Shoot Matt, JT the Force.
It was just a Bay Area. It was a Bay Area album, but it wasn't.
But it was a cross blend. Yeah, it was such a cross blend because, like, we're already bi-coastal, so that was pretty cool to make that. We put that out, titled it Publishing Purposes Only. We shot some videos. Big shout out to B Gigs, the artwork, the videos. That was really cool because I think it taught us a whole lot. And kind of fast forwarding a little bit. I'm not skipping too much or too many pivotal points, but like that process is why we are at where we're at now when it comes to.
Well, I'll say this real quick. Just one anecdote about the Publishing Purposes Only. Another cool thing is for the track with Audrey Rose, originally Hurtin was going to have Rex Life Raj on it before he was like what he is today. And look, not like I'm a big fan of his music. We both are. We love Rex Life. And at that time, no one really knew who he was, and we could get an affordable feature. It was a little bit more steeper than what we wanted to pay for. Yeah. But looking back now, it would have been like, dude, having Rex on a record, he would have done something.
No, you're right. You know what?
I love
break that down. Though. If we break that down real quick logistically, so because I remember we were at an event that we won't name, High Standard Pontius Games, and I hit up his manager, and this is a funny story because this dude named Ari, and I remember being on Instagram. There was this guy named Ari Rex Life, and he was like a light skinned dude with dreads, and I'm like, oh, this looks like this must be his manager. His name's Ari. It says Ari in the email, and so I'm hitting him up, and we're like, yo, the Ari on Instagram makes videos. The Ari, the manager, I think now works for Empire. And so I'm hitting him up an email like, yo, can we get Rex Life on this record? We send it to him. And he's like, yeah, if he likes the record, he'll do it. I think the fee was like $1,100 or $1,200.
I feel like 12 sounds right.
12 sounds I think it was $1,200. We like, all right, we'll get back to you. And they were like, on another note, can you shoot a video for us? And he was like, we're not doing videos right now. And I'm just like, Nah, I mean, I sent him an email. I was like, nah, we want you to shoot the video for us. And he never responded to that email. I'm like, oh, this might not be the Ari guy that does videos. But I think back to that where, because we circled back and was like, yo, I think said something like, it's not in our budget right now. We'll circle back. And he was like, for sure, just let us know. If we would have just dropped the 1200 and probably had a verse from Rex Life on that record, that would have just been like the classical moment to have, knowing that what he is now in terms of the type of music he makes now, that record at the time would have just been like that would have been like a time.
What's dope is it's like we A&R'd our own project. You look where those artists are now. It's like, YMTK is bigger when he puts out music. Like people, he's got a bit like Simba's huge. Like people don't know. And I mean, I don't know if he's really making music, but at the time he was huge.
He was huge.
Archie Rose, I don't know if she's making music anymore, but she was an industry. She has a following. She was in. So it's like, we had like this dope, and Shoot Mac was on the come up doing his thing. And same with the JT, the fourth kid, who was with like E40's label or something.
He was signed to Sick With Records at the time.
Yeah. So it was legit project that we were just kind of like, yo, I'm gonna put this out. And then after we did that, we're kind of thinking like, okay, realistically, how can we keep getting to So Amazing Studios? And it just was harder. And we were getting better at some things. And it was kind of like, I think I bought a mic at the time to do demos. I was like, I'll just do demos and whatever. And we're kind of like, I think we got burnt out with the industry. I don't know if we went to an event, but I think we're just kind of like, yo, honestly, fuck everybody. Like, fuck this shit. Fuck this fake shit.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're going to make our own shit. We're not going to make any more demo records for anyone. We're making music for ourselves. And we made a decision.
Keep this in mind. I mean, we also broaden our horizons. Like you said, we started listening to different shit. Chainsmokers, John Bellion.
True.
We started listening to, John Bellion.
And when I started listening to Chainsmokers, because you're right. Yeah. I started making EDM music probably around 2018, 17. I started dabbling with that. Once I started getting a grip on that, the arrangements, the production, I was like, bro, like we got to make some shit like this. Like we got to make.
The inspiration really changed. It just changed.
I didn't want to make hip hop anymore.
Yeah.
Or pop music that I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. I was like, fuck all of them. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I'm sick of the A&Rs. I'm sick of these people who block creativity. I'm sick of all of them
it's artificial.
It's just all artificial. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what sounds good. And they're the gatekeepers. I was like, I'm sick of these gatekeepers. I was like, we know what we're doing. We'll build our own pirate ship. We'll build our own foundation. We'll just go from there. And it was a slow process to get this project out because at the same time we were making it, we were building our own studio. Like my setup now, if you were to see it with the 8s, I used to have 5.
Kind of slow.
Instead of
it was kind of slow, but like I mean, when you think about
but like those records, so like for instance, like new interface, like new computer, like just new everything on top of building the plugins and then getting better at mixing. Like even during the creation of this album, I mean, I was like, we released 6 songs, and I go, bro, I'm remixing everything. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
I go, no.
That's what I was about to say.
I'm like, no, like I can hear better. Like I'm going to make this sound better. And it's like,
we put out Publishing Purposes Only in 2019.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that took like 2.5 years to make.
That took 2 years to make because of the travel. But then realistically, we put out, I don't remember when the first time you sent me Can't Be Friends. I feel like maybe summer of 19.
Mm-hmm.
Because I came out in the fall and I laid down Can't Be Friends, the first verse, because you came out in the top of 18. The top of 20, and we finished like 5 records.
Well, yeah, because I made that. And on top of that, I was like, I think we're like, we're going to make a new album. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but we're making records. I was making some shit. And Can't Be Friends was made, and I was like, no, we know this is going to be used. It's like a blend between both worlds of what we were making and what we previously made. And then I was like, I want to make an intro. And I was just kind of thinking, I was like, I want to make something cool and unique. And I just thought of like Dark Days, Brighter Nights. And the intro that people will hear was a record that was made early on that we knew like that was going to be the intro. It wasn't originally what it was because verses were written. But once we knew we had that, we're like, okay, like we're running with this idea. We started taking records we had and writing to them on top of making new ones. And we started just recording it. I flew out there, you flew out here. And then it was more so just over email. And
but like you said, highlight the personal setups, because like you said, you're sitting there with now 8s interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have like the shit that we've invested into our personal setup is no different than what
Thousands
we did
of dollars,
in 16 and 17 because of the money that we spent at the studio session.
Just doing it ourselves now.
Just doing it ourselves is the same amount of time. And money in terms of investing it. And it's like, you know, we put the money up for the plugins, the mics, the equipment, the setup, to create the vibes that we want, to be able to record it, to get the sound that we want, to where now instead of spending that $500 to go to travel to the studio, I mean, we put that $500 into whatever we need to do it ourselves and put a project out. And technically, it might have took us less time. We did 10 records? Published Purpose Only, I think, has 10 records. Mm-hmm. We did 10 records for this project, for this album, and we started it in the fall of 19, and we put 2 EPs out in 20.
Right.
You know,
and honestly, with delayed, really
record those records.
With delayed, really, the putting out of this album was really just so much a satisfaction. That's it. I mean,
I wouldn't even say delay. It's not. I mean, like,
it's not like a deadline. But in terms of like, you want something out like as soon as you can. But I just kind of hearing, and then your ears get better, and you learn something new, and you're like, oh no, like, since no one knows about this yet, why put it out when I can enhance it and make it the best? You know, songs that the 6 songs we put out, they're all remixed. They have a better mix. I will say better. They sound better. On top of that, there's new vocals on some of them. The vocals are different. They're a different track.
There's some different air channels on there.
Yeah. I want to make a comment, but it's just funny.
For new tracks.
Kanye putting out. What's funny is like take a record like Take Me Higher. We technically could have put Take Me Higher just part 2 and put it on the album because it has a different hook. Same lyrics,
right.
It's just but it's like you look at what Kanye did with Donda, not to, you know, what's that different topic for another day. But what's funny, getting back to So Amazing real quick with Peoples was I remember one session he was like, you know, he's like it's good to know. He said to me, he was like, I think you might have recorded. He's like, it's good to know to kind of have an idea of what I'm doing and the sound I'm going for because one day, I won't mix your music. And I was just kind of like, I don't want that to happen. But it was a great point because I was like, fuck, he's right. And it kind of dawned on me then, like, one of us needs to really dial in making our shit sound how we want. So I just came where I was like, fuck it, I kind of already have the setup and I'm like passionate about it now, which I never was before. I never wanted to engineer anything.
And you know, dude,
I like want to do it. I want to sit down and track shit, mix shit.
This is just our destiny because I think even in the Commodore. In the Commodore or in PAL. But no, I was saying this because we've always had this kind of relatable comparison to Cool and Dre. And that's kind of the same, you know, Dre does a lot of songwriting. He samples some shit, he flips some shit, he makes some records, he does a lot of songwriting, and that would be resemblance of me. And Cool's over here making shit, engineering and mixing shit, and that'd be a resemblance of you. And they just have like this duo that makes records across genres.
This symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy, you know. And then so that's kind of where we're at today with Dark Days and Brighter Nights, which will be out in 2 weeks. Pre-order tomorrow. Awesome. Pre-order tomorrow. 10 records that, you know, me personally, I remember you called me and was like, yo, I just want to make this kind of music. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I thought it was cool because it was like, I thought it was cool in a sense of songwriting in a different light for me. Because this is when we started to just be like, yo, we're making music that we like. We're songwriting not to appease. And that's where it changed. That's where the songwriting became different. Because if you listen to Publishing Purposes Only, you can tell that the records are written for other people to do them. These records are written with more, not technically personal meaning, but more relatable meaning to just us as people.
Us and how we feel about certain things.
Yeah.
And on top of that, real quick, I do want to put this in there because it does belong in there. Shout out to Brian. He did help. He loves the work we do and he loves writing to our stuff. He did help write. I want to say it was like 4 records. Taking Higher, The Hook, Where Did You Go? He wrote that like bridge hook.
Yep.
More, he wrote the verse I sing and like the chorus. And then I kind of had to flip that because, you know, funny story about my voice, but some things had to get sung a little different. Let's say that in a minute. But the last record, Older. Those 4 records
Backtrack
he helped us with.
Backtrack that because he also helped on Publishing Purposes Only with nobody else.
Yes,
even though
yes.
it wasn't his version, like we did that. He kind of inspired that in terms of how we.
Yep, because he played me the beat one day, and I laid down the 808 and kind of helped arrange it, and then you wrote to it.
So he's been there. That was cool from the jump too.
Yep, a silent fake friend, a silent fake friend. Yeah, silent fake.
I want to also we kind of skipped this part, but I want to shout out the guy. He seems like he's doing his own thing now too. Rio the man. He was an influence when it comes to that time at 79 with Lights Please. I don't know what he's doing now, Roosevelt Glenn, but he was inspiration.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Just these are guys that like if we ain't seen him a year.
We met along the way.
Tomorrow, it's a handshake and dap up like yo, what's good? Let's go, let's hang out because they was genuine people. So I want to shout out Rio the man, Roosevelt Glenn because they helped us make some records back then that are just part of our foundation to where we are now. And I'm excited for this shit
I forget his
out,
last name, but he was part of our program. Chris, right? Was that his name? Skinnier dude from Alameda, right?
Chris.
He sang vocals on
yeah. He did
he sang that vocal part. Just saying, I'm saying.
Yeah.
God, dude, this podcast is gonna be titled "What was the name of that record?" We can't remember anything of our own shit.
Yeah, but like you said, that's because it's let me see. What'd you say? It's hold on. I don't want to misquote it. It's
on my
it's a
laptop
decade in running.
here.
No, it's a decade in running.
A decade in running. So humble shit. I have it right on my desktop right here.
Oh, that record's tough right there too. Yeah,
that's a tough record. Tough. But
that record's tough.
Yeah, no, there are some people. We met some awesome people, man, and I love it. This project. What's cool about this project is I really feel like, I don't know. I don't consider myself like an artist, like in terms of like a performing artist. Like, I don't know. I guess we're artists. Everyone's an artist, right? But like, yeah, this shit's dope. And I just know like it's going to come out. And then when we move forward, it's just going to continue like, yeah, we make what we want to make for music. It's no longer, like I love publishing purposes only, but it's like, that's not us. But it is at the same time.
Yeah,
it's like this. Like you'll hear the difference in sounds. Yeah. And like you hear it like, I can't even tell you, like we're talking about like the genre, like I just call it alternative. I don't know. Like, someone might be like, oh, it's like EDM.
I mean, because like you go from a record,
pop flair, urban pop, hip hop, but it's like,
you go from a record like
Take Me Higher. I don't know what genre Take Me Higher is. I really don't.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. You go from a record like Dark Days, Brighter Nights to Can't Be Friends to I'm Not All Right, I think it is, or Where'd You Go? But then you also have a record like Guidance and more. And you're like,
Guidance.
I don't know what genre this
shit.
is.
It's like this like punk rock, old school hip hop track. It's crazy. It has this like breakbeat feel.
With pop.
And pop.
And it's like
yeah,
pop
it's
and melodies.
Nuts.
And it's just like it's music, man. And
it really is just
really
vibes,
cool,
good vibes.
Everything we talked about is really a foundation of like to this point as it being our latest release. It's exciting. Like I said, I was like not so much just kind of indifferent, but when you were like, yo, I want to make this music, it was just like, all right, whatever. I don't, why fucking not? And
yeah, why fucking not? What do we got to lose?
What do we got to lose? Like that's kind of the approach. It's just like, yo, a lot of times you'll be like, yo, I just made this record. What do you think? And like, I don't think anything cannot be good because something's good.
You always said that.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
it's important to say that.
It can be good to somebody. And so it's kind of like, why not?
Right. Because back when we were making music for other people, I always felt like I was in a box creatively. Like, I'm like, oh, it has to be this way. Like the drums have to be this, the bass, the arrangement, all this has to be this way. And then like making this music, I threw all that out the window. So me speaking for myself personally, when it comes to like when I'm creating something, I'm not thinking, oh, I need to do this to appease someone at fucking, Warner Chapel, whatever. It's like, no, I'm making this. If this synth sounds like this, I don't give a fuck. It fucking is how I want it. And someone's going to like it. That's because I like it. That's one person. So maybe two people like it or three. I don't know, but one person likes it and it's me.
But I firmly, I don't know this to be fact. I just firmly.
But you always used to say that though. You always used to say that, like, if it's good, it's good. Who cares? And like, it took me a long time to like understand.
Because I firmly believe this. Artists that
it took me a very long time.
Artists that have huge followings. I sometimes, yes, like the traditional, hey, we got to make this kind of record. It's got to have this tempo and sound like this because we need a single for this. But the artists who have full creative control, they're not making music for others. They're making music for themselves. and others just like it because like it's because they made it for themselves. You know what I mean? And that's the cool thing about this. Cause like I said, when we started this, I was like, why the fuck not? And to see what it's become, to know that I'm a part of making it and that I did that, song wrote, produced, did all of this stuff on it that we did is like,
it sounds
amazing.
good, man.
It sounds good. So like you can play it from top to bottom and just be like, wow, like
I'm proud of it.
This is nothing that I would have ever thought of a decade ago. You know what I mean?
A decade ago, looking now.
A decade ago, no shot.
If we took this album right now, took a time machine right back to 180, then like, hey guys, just be patient. Like, here's where you get to in 2021. We would have looked at us and be like, wow.
I wouldn't have bought it.
We're like, I don't make shit like that. I'm like, you can't make that in FL.
Yeah, they're like, there's no way. No way. How'd you do that? No way I'd have did that. So, but yeah, I think we got one last thing before we.
I was gonna say, if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, we gotta pick the hill that we die on regarding this project, regarding this process. And I think for me, you know, if I'm gonna die on a hill, I'm gonna die on the hill of if I like it, then I like it, and that's just what it is. I'm not kind of conforming to, like you said, that box of it's got to be like that, it's got to be like this. If that's the lyric I want to use, if that's the sound I want to use, if that's the arrangement, if it's a 24-bar verse or a 2-bar verse, like if I'm gonna repeat the same 2 bars for the next 8 bars, that's what I want to do. Then I'm gonna do it that way. And I'm dying on that hill when it comes to creative.
You know what?
Music.
I'm a second that, not to cop out of giving my own take, but I just want to reaffirm that because anyone, especially when it comes to art and especially with music, anyone can say, oh, these lyrics are cheesy, this sounds cheesy, but it's like, okay, well, maybe for you in this specific moment in your life, you can't connect with it because of what you're going through. You know, that's tomorrow key. You might hear this and be like, oh my God, this is what I needed in my life. But
that's key.
I like what you said about the lyric because, you know, I remember one of my favorite songs by the Killers is Mr. Brightside. And it took me honestly fucking years to realize the lyrics are the same throughout the whole song. First verse is the same as the second. And I remember on one of the records, Older, it's a very repetitive record. And the little part that I wrote just sounded so good that we just looped it and added like an effect on it. And because you're like, yo, it just sounds good. Just play it again. It sounds like it should come back. So kind of giving a nod to like that creativity. It's like, you know, if you like it, you like it. There's no right or wrong. Just create.
And I think to kind of put like a top on that is the reason I think that is like that's the hill that I'm on is because it's organic. Like it's not you know, it's authentic. It's nothing forced about it. So like if you are just repeating lyrics or your arrangement is simple or your arrangement isn't simple, it's because that's what you were inspired to do in that time, in that moment. Right. And it wasn't because you were like, hey, I got to do it like this. Because if you're doing it like this for an outside reason and, you know, an outside influence and not your own inspiration or creativity, then there's nothing organic about it. There's nothing authentic about it. And like you said, it's not you. And you'll push it out and you'll either get burnt out or it won't get received, because I do think when it comes to creating music, creating anything that's entertainment, authenticity is always has the longevity, and anything that is fraudulent really gets exposed. It might not happen right away, but like eventually, you know, the cream always rises.
Cream rises, baby.
Yeah, always.
So
I think that's a wrap.
Real quick,
probably well over our time limit.
I don't think we mentioned it. Our background is our cover. Album cover. Shout out to Zach Gracia for making it for us.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We do want to shout him out. He's awesome. He knows us. Shit, we met him 2010. I mean, that kid knows us.
A decade and running.
Decade and running, man. It's the name of the episode. A decade and running, because it's been a decade and we're still running, and we don't plan on stopping. So, So September 17th, Friday, official release. September 3rd, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, pre-order it.
Whenever you hear this, though, I would like to assume that this probably is going to be released by tomorrow. So you could probably already pre-order this by the time you hear this podcast.
I like that. Yep. I like that type of time.
Not going to lie. We'll try to get this out as soon as possible, but you know, check it out. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's your problem, obviously. But if you don't, that's cool too. You know, you might one day. Always remember that, because, and you know, it's important, because I used to always have people be like, oh, I like this artist and not understand it. And just one day it just clicked. And dude, let music.
That's true.
Don't have a preconceived notion or expectation for music. Just let it hit you and just decide in this moment, is this what I want to feel? And if not, let it go. It's almost like meditation. Let it come.
It's so true. I've had experiences myself with that where, I mean, even like I referenced before, that Turn on the Lights record, like I was like, what is this? And now like this record's high. But I've also had experience where I liked music, and now it's like I can't even listen to that in my car because for me at this time is not me at that time, and it's not for me. So like music that's just not for you at the time is very momentary. And there's some music that does have that long lasting effect where it's like I can listen to records from 10 years ago and it's still for me, to this record now and it's still for me. So like music is very, transparent in that respect. So like you said, if it's not for you, it's not for you. If it is for you, it is for you. And you just sometimes don't know that in time, and sometimes you do know that forever. So run with it, stick with it, decade and running. And
decade and running, baby.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have more episodes to come about anything we want to talk about.
Anything we want.
You'll get to know us, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's wrap it up, man. This was awesome.
All right, yo.
I'll let you do it because,
Yeah, see, this how I roll. We just come.
We be friends.